At first glance, she was just another girl with a quirky sense of style. Her clothes were nothing like the high-fashion pieces you'd see in magazines or on the runway. To everyone around her, her outfits seemed outdated, almost unfashionable. People whispered behind her back, judging her for not keeping up with trends. She wasn't one to care much about what others thought, but the stares and snickers were impossible to ignore. But little did they know, the girl they were mocking had a secret, one that would change everything. What they didn't see were the items tucked away in the back of her closet, pieces that cost more than most people's monthly rent. What they didn't know was that her unfashionable look was just a clever disguise, a way of hiding the real treasures she had. And the day was coming when everything would be revealed. The whispers that followed her, the judgmental glances, it was all about to come to an end. When her secret collection was finally unveiled, the same people who once laughed at her would be eating their words. But the question remains, who would be the first to realize that they'd misjudged her, and how would they react when they learned the truth? Stay tuned, because this story is far from over, and the plot twist is just around the corner. Her name was Emma, and while everyone around her was obsessed with the latest trends, she seemed perfectly content in her oversized sweaters, worn-in jeans, and sneakers that had clearly seen better days. At school, she was the quiet one, often slipping under the radar. Her classmates didn't understand her choices, assuming that she simply didn't care about fashion. But Emma had always been different. She didn't need to follow trends to feel confident. In fact, she preferred to stand out by blending in, hiding her true self behind layers of casual clothes. But Emma wasn't always like this. Once upon a time, she'd been the girl who dreamed of wearing the latest designer pieces. She remembered spending hours scrolling through fashion blogs, bookmarking all the dresses and bags she longed for. But after years of saving and collecting pieces little by little, she'd learned a hard truth. The world wasn't as kind to people who didn't fit in with the right crowd. So she decided to retreat, to create a persona that wouldn't attract attention. No one knew that her closet, tucked behind her plain wardrobe, was filled with luxury labels, dresses from Paris, shoes from Milan, bags from the most exclusive boutiques. These weren't just items. They were a part of her story, her journey to something greater. And every piece represented a dream she had yet to share. But the more Emma concealed her collection, the more she felt a pull, a desire to finally show the world who she truly was. She was done hiding, but she had no idea what the reactions would be when the world saw her in a way they had never imagined before. Emma's quiet life was about to change, and she wasn't sure if she was ready for it. Every day, she watched as her classmates flaunted their designer outfits, taking pride in their brand names and perfectly curated social media accounts. They never took her seriously, often treating her like an outsider. But Emma knew what they didn't. Fashion wasn't just about brands. It was about personal expression, and she was saving her most authentic self for a moment that hadn't come yet. However, the more time passed, the more she struggled with this quiet rebellion. Every day, she had to face the hurtful comments, the teasing whispers, and the feeling of being invisible. There were moments when she doubted herself, when she wondered if it was worth it to continue hiding. She would stare at the clothes in her closet, each one a symbol of a life she couldn't fully embrace yet. A deep longing simmered beneath the surface, a need to step into the spotlight and prove to everyone that she was more than they thought. But how? There was also the pressure from her friends. They had begun to notice her strange reluctance to hang out with them at fashion events or join in on the latest trends. They started making subtle comments, pushing her to be more like them. "You could be so much cooler if you just gave it a chance," one of them said. "Why hide all the time?" But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that they didn't understand. It wasn't about fitting in or following trends. It was about something deeper, something they would never get. But then there was the one person who seemed to get it. Max. He wasn't one to follow the crowd either, and he often joked about his own quirky style. He was the only one who saw past Emma's facade, and just when Emma was beginning to open up to him, something happened that made her second-guess everything. Max had always been different, just like her. His laid-back attitude and refusal to conform had made him stand out in a way that made Emma feel a little more at ease with her own choices. She found herself slowly opening up to him, revealing bits and pieces of her secret collection, sharing stories about the pieces she collected over the years. Max seemed fascinated, his eyes lighting up when she mentioned the rare dress from Paris or the pair of shoes from Milan. But something had shifted in the air lately. Emma could sense it. Max had begun acting distant, almost like he was pulling away. The texts were fewer, the meetings more awkward. It was one afternoon, as she was organizing her closet, that everything changed. Her phone buzzed with a message from Max. "Hey, you coming to the party tonight?" It was one of those exclusive events that everyone in school would be at. The ones where everyone wore their best outfits, a chance to show off the latest trends and designer labels. Emma had never cared much for those events, but something about this one felt different. She hadn't planned on going, but the idea of showing up, finally dressed in the pieces she'd kept hidden for so long, made her heart race. She stood in front of her closet, the choice looming in front of her. A sleek black dress with gold accents from Paris, a pair of stilettos that shimmered in the light. Could she really do this? Could she walk into the party and reveal her secret to the world? The fear of judgment crept up, but there was something else, an adrenaline-fueled excitement, a rush of defiance. This was her moment. As she dressed, she realized she wasn't just trying to prove something to everyone else. She was doing it for herself. But as she stepped out of her room, ready to leave, she received another message from Max. This one hit her like a punch in the gut. "I wouldn't go if I were you. There's something you don't know about tonight." Emma stared at the message for what felt like an eternity, her heart thudding in her chest. "I wouldn't go if I were you. There's something you don't know about tonight." She felt a chill run down her spine. What could Max possibly mean? Was it a joke? Was he playing with her, trying to keep her from taking the leap? But his words felt different this time, as if he knew something she didn't. She stared at the phone screen, wondering if she should trust him or just ignore the warning and go. Her mind raced, torn between the excitement of unveiling her hidden collection and the nagging fear that something was off. She typed a response. "What do you mean?" But Max didn't reply. Frustration surged through her. Why wouldn't he just tell her? In a haze of confusion, Emma decided to go to the party anyway. She slipped into the dress, the one she'd been saving for the perfect moment, and applied just a hint of makeup. As she walked out the door, she felt a strange mix of empowerment and anxiety. Her secret was about to be revealed, but there was something else in the air, a feeling that tonight wasn't just about her clothes. It felt like the stakes were much higher. When she arrived at the party, the buzz in the room shifted the moment she stepped inside. People paused, turned, and whispered. Emma hadn't expected this kind of reaction. They were stunned, not because of her clothes, but because of who was standing beside her. Max. He was there, but not alone. In fact, he wasn't even looking at her. He was with someone else, someone from her past. Someone she never thought she'd see again. The girl who had once ridiculed her for her unfashionable clothes. Max's eyes met hers, but there was something unreadable in his gaze. Did he know about the connection? Had he planned this? Was this the real reason he'd warned her? The moment Emma stepped into the party, everything seemed to freeze. Her heart raced as eyes followed her every move. She scanned the room, searching for Max, but he was nowhere in sight. Instead, the girl from her past, Lily, stood near the center, chatting with a group of people, her gaze flicking over to Emma with a look of surprise that quickly turned to smugness. Emma's stomach twisted. She hadn't seen Lily in years, not since high school, when she'd relentlessly mocked Emma for her outdated style. The cruel words and laughter echoed in her memory, but now it seemed that Lily had something to prove. Emma's eyes shifted to Max, standing with Lily. His posture was stiff, almost uncomfortable, as he spoke to her. Emma's gut tightened. What was going on? Why was he with Lily? Was everything he had told her a lie? A sudden wave of anger bubbled up. Max had been her friend, the only person who saw beyond the surface. Had he really been part of some twisted plan all along? But just as she opened her mouth to confront him, something unexpected happened. Max turned toward Emma, his expression softening. He moved quickly through the crowd, almost as if he had been waiting for this moment. When he reached her, he grabbed her arm gently and pulled her aside. "Emma, I need to explain," he whispered urgently. "I didn't want you to find out this way. But Lily's not who you think she is. She's been working with me all along." Confusion spread across Emma's face. "What are you talking about?" Max sighed, looking around nervously. "I knew you'd been hiding your collection. I also knew people wouldn't accept it until they saw you in the right light. Lily, she's been helping me set this up, pushing you to this point. She's been the one spreading the rumors about your unfashionable clothes, trying to get you to snap and show who you really are." Emma's breath caught in her throat. This was all a setup. But as the weight of his words sank in, something clicked. Max wasn't her enemy. He was the one who had been working behind the scenes, trying to get her to embrace her true self. But the final twist left her breathless. "There's one more thing you don't know," Max continued, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Lily, she's not even a part of this game. She's the one who designed all of your pieces. She knew you'd never show them off, so we made it happen this way." Emma stood frozen, her mind spinning as Max's words echoed in her ears. Lily, the girl who had once made her life a living nightmare, had secretly been behind her designer collection all along. She could hardly believe it. Max's eyes were pleading, searching hers for any sign of understanding. "I know this all seems crazy," he said, his voice low. "But you've always had this talent, this incredible sense of style. You just didn't know it yet. We wanted you to believe in yourself, and maybe this shocking moment would help you see it. You're not the girl they used to laugh at anymore, Emma. You've always been the one in control." A mix of emotions swirled inside her. Anger at being manipulated, gratitude for the push she never knew she needed, and confusion over Lily's role in all of it. But one thing became clear. This wasn't about revenge, or even the clothes. It was about finding the strength to stand up for herself, to show the world who she truly was without fear. Lily, now standing awkwardly in the corner, finally approached Emma. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, avoiding Emma's gaze. "I never meant for it to go this far. But I've always believed in your talent, even when I acted like I didn't. You just had to see it for yourself." Emma studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "I get it," she said softly. "But next time, you don't need to manipulate me to make me believe in myself. I've learned that lesson already." Max gave her a small smile, relief flooding his face. "So, are you ready to take the world on, Emma? To finally show everyone who you really are?" With a deep breath, Emma stepped forward. No longer the shy girl who hid behind old clothes, she was ready to step into the spotlight. The world had underestimated her once, but that was about to change. Tonight, she wasn't just revealing her clothes, she was revealing herself, and nothing would ever hold her back again.